Welcome back. I'm your host, and today we dive into Chapter 5, A Conference. After discovering the heartbreak injustice facing the Horner sisters, Nancy knows that sympathy isn't enough. To fight the Topham family's legal stranglehold on the Crowley estate, she needs a brilliant legal mind and she knows exactly where to find one. In this chapter, Nancy returns home to hold a private summit with her father, the esteemed art attorney, Carson Drew. It's time to move beyond rumors and start looking for hard evidence. But as they pull apart the threads of Josiah Crowley's life, they realize they're finding a missing will is going to be much more dangerous than a simple walk in the park. The strategy is set. The conference begins now. A conference. Although the rain was no longer falling, the river road was a sea of mud, and before Nancy Drew started for home, the Horner girls insisted on helping her put chains on the rear wheels of the roadster. You'll never make it to the gravel unless you do, Grace advised her. The river road is terribly slippery in wet weather. You are sure you want to attempt it? We'd love to have you stay with us until tomorrow. Oh, I'll have only 2 miles to go before I strike gravel, Nancy returned. I'll make it all right, but before I go, I do wish you would let me pay for all the trouble I have caused you. We couldn't think of accepting money, Grace said quietly. It's been fun having you here, Allie added. At last, after thanking the Horner sisters for their hospitality, Nancy told them goodbye. Allie and Grace watched her until she had backed the roadster from the barn and was safely on the road. You are taking a big chance in this mud, called out Allie after her. If you have any trouble, come back here, added Grace. That is, if you can get back. Don't skid into a tree or into a ditch. That would be worse. What are you trying to do? Make me nervous? Demanded Nancy, but with a smile on her face. No, we only want to see you get home safely, answered Grace. And by the time the car was so far on its way, no more could be said. Once on her way, Nancy had little trouble, for she was a skillful driver. The mud was heavy, but although the roadster slipped about, she managed to keep it in the road. Nevertheless, she was relieved when at last she reached the main gravelled highway. I'll stop at father's office, she decided as she drove into River Heights. I want to tell him about my adventure right away. She parked the car, surveyed it rather ruefully as she climbed out. Poor thing, needs a bath. But even if I did get into mud, it was worth it. Otherwise, I would never have found out about the Horner girls. As Nancy was admitted to her father's private office, he rose from his chair to greet her. I'm glad you're here safe and sound, he declared in relief. I have been worried ever since the storm came up. I telephoned the house and Hannah said you weren't back. It gave me a bad scare. I had a little adventure, Nancy announced with an important air. Quickly, she told of her meeting with the Horner sisters and what she had learned concerning the Crowley's will. Allie and Grace Horner are as poor as church mice, but they're proud too, Nancy ended. If only we could do something to help them. They deserve a portion of the Crowley estate, but they'll never get it unless someone takes a hand. From what you say, it looks as though Crowley really did make a will in their favor, Carson Drew commented thoughtfully. I never had any particular liking for Richard Topham, and I'll admit it would please me to see him lose the money. I'll be glad to do anything I can help to the Horner girls, Nancy. We might invite them to the house for a little conference. I was hoping you would suggest that. You say the girls have no idea what became of the will. They never saw it. Well, it is possible that by talking with them we may learn something which may serve as a clue. I'll invite them to the house tomorrow if you want me to, Nancy said quickly. You are so clever at asking questions, and the Horner girls will do anything in their power to help. Mr. Drew studied his desk calendar for a moment. All right, but make it day after tomorrow afternoon at 3. I have no appointment for that hour. Now that she had accomplished her purpose, Nancy gave her father a hug and fairly danced towards the door. I knew you would try to help them, she called back over her shoulder. Now that you have promised, I'll scamper off and let you get your work done. Nancy's interest in the Crowley case had intensified her chance meeting with the Horner girls, and it was with impatience that she awaited the conference. All the day of the appointment, she kept watching the clock, wondering if Allie and Grace would keep the engagement. She had sent them the invitation, and they had promised to come, but Nancy was a trifle uneasy, especially as the hour of 3 approached and the two girls had not arrived. I don't see why they don't come, she fretted. The words were scarcely out of her mouth when the doorbell jangled. That must be the girls now, she cried, and as she hurried to open the door, it was indeed Allie and Grace Horner. Nancy greeted them enthusiastically and ushering them into the comfortable study, introducing her father. At first, the Horner sisters were rather ill at ease, but after a few minutes they relaxed and began to talk frankly. Tell me about Josiah Crowley, Carson Drew suggested. I understand that he was rather a peculiar man. Oh, he was, Allie began impulsively. I have seen him go about hunting for his spectacles when they were on his nose all the time. Did he ever hide things? Mr. Drew inquired. Did he? Alice laughed. He always putting things away in what he called a safe place. The safe place was usually so safe that he could never find it again. Did he ever say anything which would lead you to believe that he had hidden a will? Allie shook her head. Not that I can remember. Why, he did too, Grace broke in. One day when he was at our house, he got to talking about the Tophams and the way they were trying to get his money. I guess they'll be fooled all right when they find out I have made another will, he said with that odd little chuckle of his. This time I'm not going to trust it to any lawyer. I'll put it in a place that I know will be safe. That's right, Allie agreed. I had forgotten. Was Crowley living with the Tophams at the time he told you this? Carson Drew asked quickly. Grace nodded. Do you think it possible that he hid this will somewhere in the house? You mean at the Tophams? Grace inquired. Of course, I have no way of knowing, but it's my opinion that he did. Nancy and her father exchanged a quick glance as the same thought occurred to them. Perhaps the Tophams had discovered the will and already had destroyed it. Carson Drew asked a few more questions. The Horner girls were eager to help, but they were unable to furnish additional information which had a direct bearing on the missing will. After Nancy had served tea, they thanked Carson Drew for his interest in them and arose to depart. If I find that I am able to help you in any way, I will do so, Mr. Drew told the sisters as he escorted them to the door. And of course, there will be no charge for my services. However, unless the will is there, is really very little that can be done. After Allie and Grace had left, Nancy inquiring of eyes upon her father. Charming girls, he commented, and undoubtedly deserving. Then here you will help them, Nancy demanded eagerly. I'm afraid there's nothing I can do, Nancy, Mr. Drew returned regretfully. The will is probably lost forever. It wouldn't surprise me if it had been destroyed. You mean the Tophams? Carson Drew nodded. The same thought came to me, Nancy declared. It would be just like them to destroy it if it fell into their hands. They have no scruples whatsoever. Of course, we have no proof. The Tophams did away with the will, Nancy. It would be very unwise to suggest such a thing to the Horner girls. They deserve a portion of the estate, but without the will, nothing can be done. If they took the matter to court, they wouldn't have a chance to win. I suppose you're right, Nancy admitted unwillingly. But she dropped the subject for the time being. Nancy Drew did not forget the Horner sisters. She continued to hope that by some queer twist of fate they would come into their rightful inheritance. If the will has been destroyed, I don't see how anyone can help them, she told herself rather unhappily. But until I'm sure of it, I am not going to give up. She squared her shoulders with determination. I will find some way to discover what became of the will. The strategy is set. What began as a refuge from a storm at the Horner farmhouse has evolved into a high-stake legal puzzle. Nancy is no longer just the witness to the Topham family's greed. She is now the lead investigator in a hunt for the truth. What makes this version of the story so impactful is seeing the contrast between the Horner sisters' humble honesty and Carson Drew's analytical mind. By bringing Allie and Grace directly to River Heights, we see Nancy acting not just as a detective but as a bridge. She has brought the victims of the Topham's greed into the light of justice. Carson Drew isn't just hearing a report from his daughter, he is seeing the real human cost of a missing will. It transforms this from a legal curiosity into a moral crusade. Carson Drew warns Nancy that the Tophams won't give up their fortune without a fight. If you were in Nancy's shoes, would you be intimidated by their wealth and influence of a family like the Tophams, or would you be more determined to make them take them down? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear whose side you'd be on. If you are ready to see how this legal strategy turns into real world action, hit the like button and subscribe. The conference has ended. The plan is in motion and Nancy is ready to hunt for the truth. Join me next time for chapter 6. Bye bye.